She didn't look like much at first, just a tiny gray kitten, barely the size of a shoe. Her fur was dusty, her whiskers crooked, and her eyes held the kind of confusion that makes you stop and think. Where was she going? Why was she out there, in the middle of a cracked sidewalk with nothing but the wind nudging her forward? It wasn't just a walk. It was something more than that. She was searching, and if you've ever lost someone or felt that empty space beside you, you know that look. That kind of quiet, determined hope. That's what this kitten had. Her name was Maple. No collar, no tag, but that's what the old woman who first spotted her decided to call her. Maple didn't belong in the city streets. The noise startled her. Every time a car honked or a door slammed, her little legs trembled just a bit. But she kept walking, step after step, tail low, nose twitching. It all started 3 days earlier. Maple lived with her family, a young girl named Lila, her parents, and an old golden retriever named Milo. Their home was quiet, tucked at the end of a cul-de-sac, with a swing hanging from a tree and flower pots lining the porch. Lila had picked Maple from a shelter just a few months ago. Maple had been the smallest of the litter, and while the other kittens had fought over toys, Maple had sat in the corner, watching everything. That's what drew Lila in. She said Maple looked like she was thinking, and maybe she was. For a while, everything was perfect. Maple spent her mornings curled on Lila's bed, afternoons chasing string, and evenings curled against Milo's soft belly while Lila read books out loud. It was a small, gentle life. But things changed quickly. One morning, the family packed up for a short trip to visit relatives in the next town. The plan was simple: drop Maple and Milo off at a friend's house for a few days and return before the weekend. But during the car ride, something unexpected happened. They stopped at a gas station, and somehow, in the shuffle of a bathroom break and grabbing snacks, the back door wasn't closed properly. Maple, curious and alert as always, slipped out. She didn't run away. She just stepped out, sniffed the air, looked around, and by the time Lila's dad noticed the door was open and turned back to check, she was already gone. The panic set in quickly. Lila cried the whole ride back, calling Maple's name out the window, even though she knew the kitten wouldn't hear. They searched for hours. They posted photos, talked to people at the station, and left bowls of food and familiar blankets near the area, but no sign of Maple. Meanwhile, Maple was already on the move. She hadn't gone far, but she had seen something in the distance, a flash of green that reminded her of the grass in her backyard, or maybe it was the faint scent of Milo she caught on the wind. The first night was the hardest. She found shelter under a bench at a park not far from the gas station. A homeless man sitting nearby noticed her shivering and placed a piece of bread in front of her. She sniffed it, but didn't eat. Still, she stayed close. His presence felt familiar in some way. Quiet, unthreatening. In the early morning, she moved again, slipping past joggers and early commuters. The city was loud and confusing. Maple didn't know what crosswalks were. She didn't understand traffic lights. She had to move carefully, learning quickly which noises to avoid and which paths were safe. She ducked behind garbage bins, squeezed through fences, and waited patiently under porches until the coast was clear. On the second day, a little boy spotted her near a corner bakery. He ran to grab her, but Maple darted away, slipping between bikes and under a patio table. Later that afternoon, she found herself in a quiet neighborhood that looked almost like her own. Rows of houses, garden gnomes, sprinklers misting the air. She sat at the edge of a driveway, watching the rhythm of the street, hoping for something familiar. She was hungry by then, her stomach growled in protest, and her steps were slower. But luck found her. Behind a small restaurant, a kind woman in an apron noticed her peeking through the back gate. She knelt down, placed a dish of milk and a piece of fish on the ground, and whispered gently. That night, she slept in a cardboard box tucked behind a pile of tires. Rain started to fall. Not a storm, just a light drizzle, but enough to make everything feel colder. She curled up, nose tucked under her paw, dreaming of soft blankets and Lila's laugh. On the third day, she found something strange. A familiar scent drifted through the air, faint but real. It was Milo's scent. Maple's ears perked up. She followed it, zigzagging between streets and alleys, crossing under a fence into a small community garden. There, lying under a bush, was one of Lila's old socks. Somehow, during their search, it must have fallen out of the backpack Lila carried. Maple sniffed it, meowed once, and lay beside it for a while. That small piece of home gave her new strength. She rested for an hour before continuing. The sock in her mouth, she walked with more focus now. And she was right. Around the same time, Lila and her parents had returned to the city, retracing their steps. They stopped by the bakery, the restaurant, even spoke with the old woman who'd named the kitten Maple. Piece by piece, they put together a trail. It felt like chasing a ghost, but every new sighting gave them hope. That afternoon, as the sun began to dip low, Maple reached a small park she recognized. Not from walks, she'd never been there with Lila, but from the view. Lila was sitting on the porch, Milo by her side, staring down the road. She wasn't crying anymore, just quiet, waiting. And then she saw it, a small shape, trotting with tired but determined steps. Lila stood up slowly, not wanting to scare her. "Maple?" she whispered. Maple froze. Her ears twitched. She looked up. Then she ran, not fast. Her legs were sore, but she didn't stop. Lila dropped to her knees just in time to catch her. Maple buried herself in her arms, purring so loud it shook her tiny frame. The journey was over. She had found her way home. Not because she was lucky, but because she never gave up. And if you've ever felt lost, really lost, you know how powerful that kind of belief can be.